Diego Martinez had $8 in his wallet. That was it, $8 until Friday's paycheck. But when he saw that woman's credit card get declined, when he saw the shame in her eyes as everyone stared, he didn't think twice. $3. He gave $3 to a complete stranger. What Diego didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that this woman wasn't just anyone. She was Carmen Vazquez, CEO of a $200 million company. And at that exact moment, her entire world was falling apart. But here's what's crazy. That $3 act of kindness? It was about to unlock a chain of events that would change both their lives forever. Because sometimes, the person you help today becomes the person who changes your tomorrow. When Diego Martinez, 32-year-old security guard, saw that elegant woman's credit card being declined at the café on 5th Avenue, he didn't hesitate for a second. He took out his last $3 and paid for that stranger's coffee. "Don't worry, ma'am. It happens to anyone," he said with a kind smile. What Diego didn't know was that this woman in a gray suit and leather purse was Carmen Vazquez, CEO of Vazquez Holdings, one of the most powerful companies in America, who was going through the worst crisis of her life, and that this $3 gesture would forever change both their destinies. Because sometimes kindness toward a stranger can open doors that even millions fail to open. New York City, 8:30 a.m. 5th Avenue pulsed with its usual frantic energy. Diego Martinez, 32 years old, walked toward his workplace at Macy's, wearing his blue security guard uniform. He had started his shift at 6 a.m. and was already on his second round of the day. Diego hadn't always been a security guard. 3 years ago, he was a promising computer engineer. But the economic crisis and a series of layoffs had forced him to reinvent himself. Despite everything, he always maintained his characteristic smile and natural kindness, which made him beloved by all the area merchants. As he passed in front of Central Café, his favorite spot where he had his donut every morning, he heard an agitated voice coming from inside. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the card has been declined again. Maybe you can try another card." Diego stopped and looked through the window. An elegant woman, about 35 years old, with long blonde hair and a perfect gray suit, was nervously searching through her brown leather purse. She had the air of someone accustomed to success, but at that moment seemed completely lost. "I don't understand," the woman murmured. "Yesterday everything was working." Diego saw the embarrassment painted on her face as other customers began looking at her with curiosity. The woman checked her phone, evidently searching for her bank app, but her expression became even more worried. Without thinking twice, Diego entered the café. "Excuse me," he said to the waiter. "How much does the lady owe?" $3 for a latte and toast," responded Joe, the bar owner who had known Diego for years. Diego took out his wallet. It contained exactly $80 he had left until his next paycheck at the end of the week. Without hesitation, he gave $3 to Joe. "Please, ma'am," he said, addressing the blonde woman. "Don't worry, it happens to anyone." The woman looked at him in amazement. "But you don't even know me." "Precisely," Diego smiled. "That's why it's nice to help each other among strangers. Today I help you. Tomorrow maybe you'll help someone else." Carmen Vazquez, that was her real name, was left speechless. For years, she had been accustomed to people who wanted something from her, who courted her out of interest. This stranger in a security guard uniform had just made a selfless gesture that moved her deeply. "How? How can I?" she asked, with her voice broken by emotion. "By having a good day," Diego responded, already heading toward the exit, "and maybe smiling at someone who needs it." As Diego left the café, Carmen remained motionless, clutching the coffee cup between her trembling hands. It wasn't just the credit card problem. What was upsetting her? That morning, she had received a call that had changed her life. Her company, Vazquez Holdings, was under investigation for alleged tax irregularities. Her accounts had been frozen. Her reputation was in tatters, and she found herself alone against the world. However, that gesture of kindness from a stranger had given her a spark of hope she hadn't felt in weeks. Carmen looked through the window at Diego walking away down the street and made a decision that would change everything. That night, Carmen returned home to her penthouse in the Upper East Side with a fixed idea in mind. She had to find that man, not to return the $3 that was the least of it, but because in that gesture, she had seen something she had forgotten existed. Authentic humanity. Sitting in her office, surrounded by legal documents and court summons, Carmen opened her laptop. Her business skills also included a notable investigative capacity, a competence she had developed over the years to verify partners and competitors. Central Cafe, 5th Avenue, she wrote in Google Maps. Then she called the bar. Hello, Central Cafe. Good evening. I'm the lady from this morning. The one with the card that didn't work. Yes. How are you? Did the bank thing get resolved? Yes, thank you. I wanted to ask the security guard who helped me. Does he work nearby? Diego. Yes, he's a good guy. He works at Macy's. Why? I wanted to thank him. Exactly. Thank you very much. The next day, Carmen dressed completely differently. Jeans, hoodie, sneakers, and a brown wig. She wanted to observe Diego without being recognized to understand what kind of person he really was. She positioned herself in a cafe across from the Macy's entrance and began her observation mission. What she saw impacted her deeply. Diego wasn't just a security guard. He was the human heart of that place. She saw him help an elderly lady with heavy shopping bags, patiently give directions to a confused family of tourists, and even stop to play for a few minutes with a crying child while his parents shopped. During lunch break, Carmen followed him at a distance. Diego entered a small restaurant, ordered only a plate of rice, evidently the most economical meal on the menu, and while eating read a computer programming book. He's studying, thought Carmen. He hasn't given up on his dreams. That night, Carmen did something she hadn't done in years. She went into an internet cafe and began searching for information about Diego Martinez on social media using a fake profile. What she discovered moved her even more. Diego had lost his computer engineering job 3 years before, but instead of giving up, he had accepted the security guard job to support his family. His mother had health problems and he paid for her medical treatments. Despite economic difficulties, on weekends he volunteered at a neighborhood nursing home. This man, Carmen told herself, has everything I've lost over the years. Humility, generosity, the ability to see good in others. That night, Carmen made a decision that would have surprised anyone who knew her. Instead of focusing only on her legal problems, she would find a way to reward Diego, but not with money. That would have been too easy and probably offensive. She wanted to do something more meaningful, something that would change Diego's life, as his gesture had changed her perspective on life. Are you enjoying this story? Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's continue with the video. 1 week after the encounter in the cafe, Carmen had elaborated a plan. As CEO of a holding that controlled several tech companies, she knew exactly how to help Diego without it seeming like charity. Dr. Vazquez, said her assistant Marcos, entering the office. I've done the investigations you asked me about Diego Martinez. Tell me everything. Bachelor's degree in computer engineering with honors from MIT. Specialization in cybersecurity. Worked for 3 years at Tech Solution, before the massive layoffs of 2021. Since then works as a security guard, no criminal record, obviously excellent references from all previous employers. Carmen smiled. Perfect. Now listen carefully what you have to do. Carmen's plan was elegant in its simplicity. Her holding was about to acquire a New York startup specialized in cybersecurity. They would coincidentally publish a job advertisement for a senior cybersecurity specialist, with requirements that corresponded perfectly to Diego's profile. But, Doctor, asked Marcos, what if he doesn't respond to the ad? Carmen smiled mysteriously. Then, we'll have to be a bit more creative. 3 days later, while Diego patrolled at Macy's, an elegant woman approached him. It was Clara, the Human Resources Director of CyberGuard NYC, one of Carmen's holding companies. Excuse me? Clara said. Are you Diego Martinez? Diego was surprised. Yes, I am. Can I help you? I'm Clara Ruiz, HR Director at CyberGuard NYC. A client of ours spoke very highly of you as a professional in the cybersecurity field. I'm sorry, I think there's a misunderstanding. I work as a security guard. I know, Clara smiled. But I've seen your resume online and your degree in computer engineering. We're looking for a senior cybersecurity specialist. Would you be interested in doing an interview? Diego was left speechless. I haven't sent my resume to anyone. An external consultant of ours suggested your name. Apparently you made an excellent impression on someone in the sector. That night, Diego called his mother with his hands trembling with emotion. Mom, you won't believe it. They've offered me an interview for a computer engineering position after 3 years. Oh, My son, it's wonderful. But who recommended you? I don't know, Mom. They say someone in the sector spoke well of me. Maybe it's destiny. Carmen, who was listening through Marcos, who had discreetly recorded the phone conversation from the cafe below Diego's apartment, felt tears in her eyes. He's so happy, she thought. When was the last time I made someone so happy without wanting anything in return? The interview was set for the following week, and Carmen personally ensured everything went perfectly. Diego should never know that behind this opportunity was the woman from the cafe whom he had helped without asking for anything in return. But destiny had prepared a surprise that not even Carmen had foreseen. On the day of the interview, Diego woke up at dawn. He had ironed his only good suit and had studied for a whole week reviewing everything he knew about cybersecurity. He was nervous, but determined. Carmen, for her part, had decided to personally attend the interview. She couldn't resist the temptation to see Diego in his professional element. She had hidden in the adjacent conference room, with the excuse of preparing other documents. Mr. Martinez, Clara began, tell us about your experience in cybersecurity. Diego began to speak, and Carmen was fascinated by his competence and passion. He wasn't only technically good, but had an ethical vision of computer security that was rarely found in the sector. I believe cybersecurity isn't just protecting data, Diego said, but protecting people. Behind each computer system, there are human lives, families, dreams. When we protect a system, we protect all this. Carmen felt a shiver. It was exactly the type of mentality she sought in her best employees. The interview was going perfectly when the unexpected happened. Diego's phone began ringing insistently. Sorry, he said, embarrassed. Normally I have it off, but answer it calmly, Clara said kindly. Hello, what? Mom, calm down. How? The ambulance. I'm on my way. Diego turned pale. I'm so sorry, but I have to go. My mother has been taken to the hospital. Can we postpone it? Of course, Clara responded. Go and don't worry about the interview. Diego ran out and Carmen, without thinking twice, followed him. At Mount Sinai Hospital, Diego ran through the halls looking for his mother. Carmen followed him at a distance with her heart in her throat, from worry for this man she had learned to respect deeply. Mr. Martinez, a doctor said. Your mother had a fainting spell, but she's stable. However, she'll need urgent surgery. How much does it cost? Diego asked with a choked voice. With medical insurance, your part will be about $15,000. Diego sat on a bench, his head in his hands. Carmen knew that with his security guard salary, that figure was impossible to reach. It was in that moment that Carmen made the most important decision of her life. She couldn't keep hiding. She had to act. She approached Diego. Excuse me. Diego looked up and recognized her immediately. You, the lady from the cafe. Yes, Carmen said sweetly. And I have a confession to make to you. I don't understand, Diego said, looking at Carmen with confusion. What are you doing here? Carmen sat beside him on the hospital bench. Diego, I must tell you the truth. The job interview, I was the one who organized it. What? I'm Carmen Vazquez, CEO of Vazquez Holdings. CyberGuard NYC is one of my companies. Diego looked at her incredulous. But why? I don't understand. Carmen breathed deeply. That day in the cafe, when you paid for my coffee, I was going through the darkest moment of my life. My company was under investigation. My accounts were blocked. I thought I had lost everything. Your gesture reminded me that in the world there still exists selfless kindness, Diego murmured. You did all this for $3, not for the $3, Carmen smiled through tears. For the kindness. For having treated me like a human being when my whole world was crumbling. You didn't know who I was, how rich or poor I was. You helped me simply because it was right. Diego shook his head. But the job. I don't deserve all this. You're wrong, Carmen said firmly. I had your record verified. You're extraordinarily qualified. I only put you in contact with the right opportunity. You passed the interview on your own merits. And now? Diego asked, looking toward the operating room where his mother was. Carmen took out her phone. Now I let you concentrate on your mother. As for the medical expenses, Vazquez Holdings has an assistance fund for employees and their families. But I'm not officially an employee yet. You are since you accepted to do the interview? Carmen smiled. Consider this an advance on your salary. 3 hours later, the operation on Maria Martinez, Diego's mother, had gone perfectly. Doctors assured she would recover completely. I don't know how to thank you, Diego said with tears in his eyes. You know perfectly well, Carmen responded. Keep being the person you are. Keep helping strangers when they need it. Keep believing in people's goodness. But you, why did you risk so much for me? I mean, I'm just a security guard who paid for your coffee. Carmen looked him in the eyes. Diego, in my life I've met thousands of people, businessmen, politicians, celebrities, but most wanted something from me. You were the first person in years who gave me something without asking for anything in return. You gave me back faith in humanity. That night, as they returned together from the hospital, Carmen and Diego walked through New York streets talking like old friends. Two completely different worlds that had met thanks to a gesture of kindness. You know what I think? Carmen said. I think we were destined to meet. You needed an opportunity. I needed to remember what's really important in life. Diego smiled. My mother always says kindness is the only investment that never loses value. Your mother is a wise woman, Carmen responded, and has raised an extraordinary son. 6 months later, Diego Martinez had become one of New York's best cybersecurity specialists. His ethical approach and dedication had made him valuable not only for CyberGuard, but for Carmen's entire holding. Carmen, for her part, had overcome the legal crisis she had been through. The investigation had proven her innocence, and her company had emerged stronger than before. But most important was the change she had lived as a person. Diego Carmen said during one of their weekly meetings, I have a proposal for you. I'm listening. I want you to become director of a new project, a corporate social responsibility program that helps talented young people in difficulties find job opportunities. Diego smiled. A way to multiply what you did for me. Exactly. We'll call it Project Coffee, small gestures that change big lives. 1 year later, Project Coffee had helped more than 200 young people find qualified work. Carmen and Diego's story had become legendary in the New York business world, not for the millions involved, but for the demonstration that kindness is the world's most valuable currency. You know what I've learned? Carmen told Diego during the inauguration of Project Coffee's new training center. What? That paying for a $3 coffee can be worth more than any $1 million contract. Because when you invest in people's goodness, the return is infinite. Diego looked at the room full of young people who were beginning their free professional training, and I've learned that sometimes helping a stranger means helping yourself, without even knowing it. Diego's mother, completely recovered, was in the front row with a radiant smile. My son, she told Carmen, has always told me kindness is contagious. Thank you for having proven he was right. Carmen shook Diego's hand. Thank you for having taught me that true success isn't measured in what you accumulate, but in what you give. Their story demonstrated that sometimes the smallest gesture can create the biggest impact, and that in a world where everything has a price, kindness remains the only thing that can't be bought. It can only be given and received, creating an infinite chain of good that transforms lives, one cup of coffee at a time. If this story moved you and made you believe in the power of kindness, leave a heart down here. I want to hear from you. Have you ever made a small gesture that had unexpected consequences? Do you believe kindness towards strangers can really change the world? Tell me your stories of kindness that created miracles in the comments. If this story touched your heart, like if you believe small gestures can create big changes, subscribe to not miss stories that demonstrate goodness always wins. Share with those who need to believe in the magic of everyday kindness. Comment contagious kindness if you also believe in the power of small gestures. Remember, in a world that often seems cold and distant, each of us has the power to be the ray of sunshine in someone's day. Sometimes the price of a coffee is enough to change a life. And who knows? Maybe that stranger you helped today is the person who will change your tomorrow. See you in the next video with another story that will make you believe in the magic hidden in everyday acts of kindness.